All right, here we are. We are on the greatest show on the planet with Yach. I love getting together with this guy. He's a fun guy to talk to, and we're going to talk about real estate in North Georgia today. North Georgia real estate podcast, whatever the hell you want to call it. And yeah, man, what's going on? It's holiday season. How you doing?
Absolutely going well. Got Thanksgiving behind us and bring on Christmas, you know. So getting the kids settled in, taking care of all that mess and making sure Santa knows what to do. But other than that, it's real estate.
My kids are 7 and 5, and it's hard to buy them Christmas gifts because I like to get them the catalogs like the Walmart catalog, and Amazon has one now. And Target, I actually have them right here. But the problem is that their age, they flip through, they literally circle every single thing in
Oh
there,
yeah,
you know.
been
So
there, done that.
I'm trying to get them to get excited about like one or two things that they can really light up about. But I think they're maybe, I don't know, maybe they live that Disney World life, so it's hard to get them excited about anything when we go to Disney World all the time.
Right. Well, no, mine have earmarked a few big ticket items, and we take care of that, and then some stocking stuffers and little things to go around it. So I like the idea of one big thing. It makes it easier, I think, on mom and dad too, or Santa for that matter.
Yeah, and we're always doing Christmas, usually not anywhere near where we live. So then you got to figure out how to get this stuff back home, you know.
There's that. Yep,
Yeah.
certainly that part of it.
Well, anyway, for those of you that are listening to this in June, I'm sorry about that, but love Christmas, and that's where we're at in life as of the recording of this podcast. And speaking of where we're at in life, the economy stinks. You know, for the most part, we got some issues out there. The stock market's doing well. Interest rates are going down, so there's some positive stuff going on. But it does seem like average Joe is somewhat, I don't want to use the word broke, but hurting a little bit right now. And it's let's be real. First of all, 2022 is long gone. The heyday of money falling out of the sky is long gone. But um,
Luke, let me cut you off,
yeah, I was
man.
gonna say, don't make me sound like Debbie Downer over
I
here.
mean, you're making me feel bad. Do you think the economy really stinks, or do you think it's just kind of more normal? I
Uh,
mean, is that fair?
you know,
I
I
mean, like you said, money's not falling out. Just because it's not falling out of the sky anymore doesn't mean it's not there, right?
I don't know. That's the problem. I do tons of research on this all day, every day, and listen to podcasts and news and everything, and I don't know what the hell's going on out there because all signs are pointing to things being pretty okay. But you know, people aren't spending as much money in certain aspects of their lives. It seems like now. Again, I back to Disney World. I was just there and it was jam packed, and I'm like, man, everybody here spent at least 5 grand. So
Yeah.
maybe they do have money. I don't know. Let's bring that into North Georgia real estate. What are you seeing? Are people buying stuff or is it slow?
It's definitely slowed down. You don't have to get as, you know, aggressive, let's say, as it was 3 or 4 years ago, where, oh crap, one hits the market, let's jump on it. Now, I will say this, we are a smaller market. So when a good property shows up at a good price, you know, there could be a multiple offer situation. It's not happening a ton, but look, I tell everybody, people think it's an art to find a good house at a good price. If you stare at Zillow listings long enough, Luke, me and you can find one in, I don't know, Lawrenceburg, Oklahoma. You know what I mean? It's not that hard to do, right? I mean, a good house, when you're looking at all the comparables in the area at a good price, it's not that difficult to do. So I tell everybody, if you've identified it as a good house at a good price, I'm willing to bet you I got multiple clients that are doing the same thing, right? And it's just the way the world works. But with that being said, I do think there's a lot of overpriced listings out there. A lot of people bought at the peak of the market. They didn't have probably the resources that we provide to them. They bought a property that they wanted to use as a rental primarily, and they probably bought it and paid too much for it.
Have
And
you
now they
been
need to
to
sell it.
Lawrenceburg, Oklahoma?
No, I'm just looking at a map, and it was the random thing that showed up in the corner of my
What are you
eye.
doing looking at a map of Oklahoma?
Well, I'm not. I saw Lawrenceburg, and I knew it was in Tennessee, and I was like, well, let me pick one further
Oh,
away.
Tennessee. Oh,
Yeah,
I got you.
I figured there's one in Oklahoma. I was trying to get as obscure as I could.
Yeah,
Should have
well,
said Wyoming.
no, good job. But mission accomplished.
So, but no, I mean, I'll say this, the real estate market has slowed down. But there's still plenty of good opportunities to had. And, there are overpriced listings, but man, let's let's shoot out a number. If I'm representing you as a buyer, let's put a number in front of them. And a lot of times, sellers go, well, if I need to get out from under this, I need to let it go. And I tell people, don't be scared of the listing price. If we submit a low offer, so be it. And maybe a seller gets two or three low ball offers. And, me and you've had this discussion before. If you're representing a seller and they get three offers that are $200,000 off their price, those are no longer low ball offers. That's the market. And it has shifted.
Yeah. Okay, so just let's back it up. We're talking about north of Atlanta, Blue Ridge Mountains, et cetera, all in that area, several areas, within that area. But Blue Ridge is the biggest name anyway. But it's a very small area, really. So let's paint that picture first of all. I mean, how many on any given day? How much product do we even have to look at? I mean, am I able to flip through 200 houses for sale, or
Probably
you know what I mean?
could.
Like,
Yeah. So to give people perspective, the town of Blue Ridge inside the city limits, my understanding there's less than 3,000 people that live there full time. Okay. So it's small. It's just a little hideaway for kind of the, people in Atlanta want to go to vacation. And now it's people in Atlanta plus Florida, where they want to go to vacation. In terms of how many rentals are on the market, there's not a ton. I will say this. There's just like every other market, it's saturated with people providing a subpar experience and want above par money. And it just doesn't work like that, no longer. You know what I mean? You kind of, I tell people you get what you pay for. But at any point in time, when it comes to, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, there's enough out there where you can be picky as a buyer. And I recommend you doing that. You don't have to fall for the first one, the first one that shows up. Find the one that, like I tell everybody, find the one that's got bigger bedrooms where you can most definitely get king beds in there, because in my market, that matters. There's a lot of people that are coming from Metro Atlanta and they may live in an 800 square foot condo in a skyrise condo, and they've never slept in a king bed. And for them to come to a cabin and sleep in a king bed, it's a big deal, so king beds in my market, huge deal. Now everywhere, cabin communities, this, you got to have the hot tub, And then I tell everybody, if you're doing the 2 bed or bigger than 2 bedrooms, you need to have that secondary common area, that game room downstairs or whatever you want to call it, hangout room. But, put in as many amenities as possible. All these things matter. You've got to, I tell everybody the pie with the economy, I think the pie is not shrinking. The pie is just staying the same size. And we got to figure out how to increase the slice of our pie that we're taking from the, revenue. And how do we increase revenue? Well, you got to have amenities and you got to have other things that other people don't have. And you're going to get shopped. And I feel like in this market, because we're so close, we're about 90 minutes from Metro Atlanta, sure enough, like middle of the city, probably 2 hours from the airport, an hour from North Metro Atlanta. And, but because of our location, I think we're a little more probably heavier on aesthetics than maybe some other cabin markets. I think we tend to be a little trendier than other cabin markets. And I tell people, if Joanna Gaines comes out and she makes a blog that, pink curtains are going to be the new hot thing in cabins this year, brother, run to Target, get your pink curtains because it's coming. And those little things, because we are trendy, help. And it's where you can kind of, what it is, Luke, you get in the margins and figure out how you can make a little more money than your neighbors. And here, if you're kind of in tune to that, man, you can make money hand over fist. But if you bought the house and say it was built in 2002 and it looks like my grandma decorated it in 2002, you're going to have to breathe some life into it. And not wholesale changes, but I talk about the small stuff, the soft goods, the curtains, the rugs, the bedding, all that. I know in the Smokies, you probably see a lot of red and black plaid and moose prints and bear prints and, chickens and all that stuff. But here, we're a little more farmhouse chic than anything. And I know that plays well in every place, but I would say more so here than maybe the Smokies in North Carolina is that kind of farmhouse chic interior design work goes a long way.
No, because you are dealing with a lot more big city people than they are in East Tennessee
Yeah,
and other
that's
areas,
right.
a lot of areas, because you're right there close to one of the biggest cities in America. And these folks are, they're they're used to culture, a little more culture, I
Hmm.
guess is a good way to put it. Maybe they've eaten some hummus in their life, that kind of thing, you know. And in East Tennessee, let's forget about it. I mean, let's be real. A big day in East Tennessee is a Tennessee Volunteers football game, you know. And you make an excellent point. They probably don't want. I mean, I'm not trying to use the word redneck here, but they probably don't want it to be as redneck.
Well, and look, as a proud redneck.
Me too.
I don't know if I'd call it red, but you know what I mean. I mean, it's a little in Tennessee. It's a little more Dolly Parton, a little more of that classic old school kind of
Yeah.
cabiny feel. Where here, the cabins are the same cabins, right? But just the decor may be a little more modern. Say as it may be in the Smokies, but and I tell people that's your in, right? Because you're always looking for when you're looking at properties, how am I going to differentiate mine from somebody else's? You know, and look, how much are curtains and that type of decor? Not expensive stuff, right?
No.
This
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
this is all Amazon. This is
People
all
don't.
Target.com.
It always blows my mind that people don't realize how that you can transform a house with, I mean, even just a paint job. That's actually a pretty extreme example because that's not super cheap, but new blinds and stuff like that. Uh, good, good, good thing to bring up is the fact that everybody these days seems to think they need a designer. And that may have been the case in the peak when everybody was just spending money like crazy and designers were like all the rage. And it's still a great idea to do that if you're that type of person. But I can't tell you how many times people have come to me and said, I need a designer. And I'm like, well, what do you need done? And they're like, I want to change this wall color and I want to, put some wallpaper on in this bathroom. And I'm like, you don't need a designer for that. You need a painter is what you need. I mean, now if you have no idea what color to pick and all that kind of stuff, I get it. But as soon as you start using that D word, it's like it seems like boom, there goes 15 grand. But I don't know.
That's for
It's
sure.
just my old school landlord, like we don't need to spend all that kind of money, kind of thing. But you make an excellent point with the drapes or window
Yeah,
coverings, whatever you want to call them.
that's right. I mean, we're not mixing rocket fuel for the Apollo 13. It's real simple stuff. Just if you've got an internet connection, a cell phone, and access to Google, type in 2025 trends,
Mhm.
farmhouse
Yeah.
or cabin, and just see what pops up, man. And you know, find some stuff. I'm sure. And look, everybody's trying to sell it too. And what's great? What I love is the Smoky Mountains and all these cabins. They have the big, heavy, live edge furniture stuff. And man, is it expensive? You know what I mean? We've got a guy, Jerry, in town who builds all that live edge, all the stuff that looks like it's made out of logs. And that stuff costs a mint. But you know what? I don't feel, I mean, that's not where our trend is. Right now, it is that farmhouse chic stuff. And you know what? You can get that stuff off any retail website there is. And it's so much cheaper. You know what I mean? Like Home Goods, all that, those trinkets and tchotchkes, that you put on the wall, the decor is so much cheaper than that big, heavy log furniture.
Mm.
And it's a blessing, because you get one of these couches, go to, what is it, Rooms to Go, and get you a suite of some single color stuff. And look, when that couch breaks 4 years from now, so what? But at least you didn't pay 12 grand for it. You know, get you a $1,500 couch that's of the modern style. And when you get 3 or 4 or 5 years out of it, kick it out and buy a new one. But don't buy the super heavy stuff, because a lot of times, in some cases, it works. Because to me, it looks like beach stuff. Doesn't really, it kind of, you've got your turquoise and your light color, your light greens and your light blues, and kind of that ocean vibe. But for whatever reason here, we cycle through stuff about every 10 years, about what people want for decor.
I don't think I've ever had a couch get to the point where I said it's time to update that couch. It's always somebody ripped a hole in it or whatever.
Well, yeah,
It's a rental. At the end of the
yeah.
day, this is what drives me nuts. People going out to try to spend all this high dollars, all this expensive stuff. It's a rental, man. They're going to do weird stuff in there. They don't mean it, but
Mhm.
I just get whatever's on sale. Now that is one thing about the mountain areas. You usually get those heavy duty leather couches, and they tend to last a little longer. But
They can for sure.
down here on the beach, forget it. I just get whatever's cheap, man. I want a little L-shaped sectional that is somewhere around $1,200 because that thing's is going to be covered in somebody. What happens is they come out of the pool and they sit on the couch, and it's
Right.
just nasty. Now, why would
Well,
you
I would
do?
say, look, do the same thing in Blue Ridge. Get that cheap L-shaped couch, put it in your game room, call it a day.
Yeah,
Don't go to lazyboy.com, because that thing's 12 grand.
yeah, they're expensive.
So
Yeah.
good from far, far from good. You know, the
You got an example? I think I don't know if this is a good time for you to share something that show us kind of what you're talking about, like what something looked like.
Well, let's do this if you don't mind. I'm going to pull up. I've kind of set aside some listings that make
Absolutely.
sense, so people know maybe what price points look like, what to go after, what not to go after, and then some listings, some actual Airbnb listings of my clients that have some successful properties on the market, and then maybe we can talk about them. So,
Absolutely. Love that.
uh, first of all, let me see. Tell me if you see can you see the map? Is
There
there
you
a
go.
map pulling
Yep,
up,
there you
Luke?
go. Atlanta, GA in the middle there, and
That's it.
got
So
the
I'm going
hearts
to
at the
zoom out a
top.
little bit to kind of give people an idea of what we're dealing with. So Atlanta is a little more northerly in the state than people think. I've got a heart right here at the airport, so it's kind of on the south side of town, and you can see this thoroughfare I-75 that runs from Florida, runs next to Macon, goes right through Atlanta. People can stay on it. They take 575, and then they jump on 515, and they are basically in my market. So I'm telling you, I go to my father-in-law who's down in South Florida. There's about 3 turns I have to make to get from his house to mine. It is literally a straight shot. A few merges here and there, but in terms of, turns where I have to put on a blinker, probably only 3
Can I
from
just tell
from
you,
South
every
Florida.
time I go do the 10 to 75 split, which we do it often because it's Disney World and we live
Yeah,
down, I miss that damn turn every time. But anyway, yeah,
right there.
there's not a person listening to this podcast that has not been through that Atlanta airport. I mean, that place is like the
I
hub
guarantee you
of the
there's not a
world.
suitcase that hadn't been through it.
Right.
And again, it's about a 2-hour pull, and that depends because you got to drive through Atlanta, but about 2 hours with moderate traffic in town to get up here. So, couple of bookmarks I've got on here. We got Blue Ridge right there, kind of in the middle. Down here we got Cherry Log. This is the Aska Adventure area. I tell people to be kind of north of that, between Aska and the lake. It gets pretty remote down in here. You've got Morganton over here. We've got Mineral Bluff. Now, Mineral Bluff is pretty big. While Mineral Bluff looks like it's just northeast of Blue Ridge, it's actually postal code goes all the way up here to the North Carolina and even Tennessee state lines. So it's really, when it comes to like postal codes, mailing codes, Mineral Bluff is massive. So I tell people stay as south as possible. Now there is some good deals up here to be had if you're willing to take a little more of a chance and buy kind of there's some very high end houses close to this North Carolina line that make excellent rentals. You're also close to the casinos up there. And then over here we have Epworth, and we have this corridor from Blue Ridge up to McKaysville, and all through here is solid stuff, easy drive to get in and out of. The one thing I don't recommend is just getting too far west of town. It kind of can get a little, the roads are maybe not as smooth, let's just say. But yeah, this is the market we kind of want to be in. If again, Blue Ridge right here, within 20 driving minutes, you're good to go. I'm going to flip to, let's just say, a listing. Luke, tell me, did it update on your end?
Yes, that's an Airbnb link. Yep.
Yeah. So this is a good client of mine, Lacey. She did a great job. Now she bought new construction. I want to show people kind of what new construction is. Now this is a 3 bedroom, 8 guest. Here we like to be comfortable. I know in some markets they'll try to put 24 people in a 3 bedroom. This is not one of the markets. I tell people we're not necessarily a honeymoon destination, and we're not necessarily like a big corporate retreat deal where you're going to have these massive groups. We're kind of in the middle. 2, 3, 4, 5 bedroom type stuff. So this is a 3 bedroom. She got new construction a few years ago during COVID, and you know, it's a very cute house. I mean, this is what kind of people want. Somebody that wants to kind of get a little more upscale with their cabin and have that new feel. This is the way to go about it. Big living room, kind of open concept, big porches, TVs everywhere. This is really something that, most people are looking for when they come up here. Not everybody, a lot of people want that classic look, again, king bed, super important. The bunk beds in one room, that's the other master. So it's, I don't want to harp too much on a single listing, but everybody we call these game day porches, where you can sit out here and, y'all are watching the Vols game. We're watching the Bulldogs. We're watching the UGA game here. Hang out, hot tub.
Great photos. You got good photographers in the area. Do you know who took these?
I do. We've got, photographers to me are kind of like roofers. We got plenty of them, but they kind of come and go. But yeah, we got, getting good photos done is not hard
here. Okay. Yeah. These are very, very nice photos.
Yeah. Great cabin, not a big one. We're talking 1,800 square feet, but new construction and, pretty simple. And you know what? Right here, you got a beautiful, kind of look, but it's not one of these that has a long range mountain view. It's you can see from here, you're kind of looking at the woods, but it's still a lovely setting, and it's a great place to be. It's quiet, easy to get to.
Shed roof is common on these.
I wouldn't say common. The single slope roof is, that comes with the new construction. Everybody wants. I don't know what you call them. I call these kind of the contemporary cabins. But yeah, this shape and design is becoming more and more common, and is what people want. And if you're going to jump in the game and you really want to kickstart your earnings, I will say the single sloped roof, the newer builds like this are going to create your snowball a little bit quicker. They tend to be a little
retail on it, right? What's the new construction situation right now? Are they still building? Has it slowed down?
So they're still building them. You can get something like this fully furnished. I've actually got one in my back pocket for $750 to $800, fully furnished, ready to go. So I've got one like this. So that's kind of that price point. I'll pop over here. Let's see. So here's what doesn't, people say, well, what doesn't make sense? Okay. Here we go. One of these ultra modern cabins. This is new construction. I'm not going to flip through the photos because it's still in the process of being built, but man, is that not awesome? I mean, that's a sick looking cabin, but it's a 3 bedroom, Luke, and they want 1.3 million for that. I'm going to tell my clients, like, ROI standpoint, this might not be for you, but if you want to own one of the most badass cabins around, then go for it. I'm not going to stop you, but in terms of just dollars and cents from ROI, at 1.3 for a 3 bedroom, this doesn't make sense. I would tell my folks, hey, let's look for something that, if you want new construction, let's find something different. Now, with that being said, you're at 1.3. Maybe what makes more, we're at 1.5. You get 2 more bedrooms and more bathrooms and a lot more square footage, and you're already furnished, and you have a good, a decent view. I'm not going to call that a massive layered view, but you're already getting, and Luke, you would love this. Look at that parking infrastructure. I don't know about the Smokies, but I know where we are. Having your own kind of parking pad and hell, that could be $70,000 worth of poured concrete right there alone. Having this, it keeps your cabin cleaner. It's one of those deals where people aren't working. So, this style of cabin, I would say could work for somebody. Now, let's just say we don't have 1.5. I get it. You know, maybe doing something a little bit smaller. Again, we got a 4.4 here at 875 with a big view. This, something like this to me is a great jump off point. If you're wanting new construction, you've got the massive deck here. You can put your TVs in there. Just tons of room. But a 4.4. And actually this one's close enough to town where you'll be on. Pretty sure you have county water, which is kind of rare.
What's something like this rent for? Maybe 80 grand or something a year?
Oh no, I would hope this one would do better. I mean,
I made that
80
number up,
grand
but
maybe year one, and then you're going to be up to 100, 120. Year two and year three is what would be my hopes for you.
Mhm.
So
everything you're showing me is brand new. Is that
no, I'm going to jump around. I'm going to show you
Okay.
another option here.
Oh,
So
here we go.
you know, go into something a little more classic.
I like
A little
this.
more.
I like that price tag.
Great price tag, 3.3, 1,800 square feet, 5.25. Matter of fact, I'm showing this house on Friday. Got a lot of people curious about this one. Got a metal roof, true log cabin. How do you tell if it's true log? Well, you look here on the corner of the house and you can see where the logs are dovetailed together. Now, granted, only this main portion is true log, but a lender is probably going to view it as true log. Whether your insurance company does or doesn't, that's a different story. But got a decent view. You're kind of peeking through some woods. You could probably do some vista pruning through here and clean some of that up and get a solid view. Look at this parking, Luke. I mean, nothing gets me excited more than parking. People don't look at it when they're looking at cabins, but as somebody who's been to a lot of properties, good parking just makes me smile.
Yeah, flat, easy parking is key.
Oh, it is. It is to where you can get 3 cars in there comfortably and you don't have to shuffle them around.
So much easier to manage because that's their first impression when they get there. And if they got to park their car at a 90 to 45-degree angle, then they're calling you and they're mad, well, you're in the mountains. What'd you expect? That kind of thing. But
exactly. But once again, an honest cabin here.
Yeah, it needs a few things, but
yeah, no, it's not, I wouldn't say this one's ready to go, but this is not one where you got to come in and swing a hammer. You know what I mean? This is just, you need some Amazon boxes to show up and you're done.
Yeah.
This just needs some decor. It's even got a little fence. So, obviously this one's going to be, it's kind of, you can make this one pet friendly. Not a lot of landscaping to keep up with outside. So,
yeah.
This would be one I would tell my clients, hey, let's take this one seriously. A 3-bedroom.
I like what I'm seeing here. I mean, it's the carpet's annoying a little bit, and there's some things, but that's all. I mean, that's what I'm looking for, honestly. I'm not really usually looking for like the ready to go property.
And if it was ready to go, Luke, it would be 650. I mean, that's just a reality. So I don't see washer dryers here. That's a little pain in the butt. But again, that's why it's 5.25 and not 6.25.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, you got great appliances and tops and
sure.
Really not many complaints at all. The flooring looks.
I love the exposed beams up here. I mean, it's a solid, I think, an honest little cabin. This, I would tell somebody, this is kind of what you're going after.
Now, let's go. What's the days on market? How many days on market for this exact cabin? Oh, this is new. It's 13 days.
Yeah. 13 days. Yep.
So this is new. That's interesting.
New team. Yep. Right here. Sorry. 13 days. Now,
yeah, this one's pretty attractive. It seems like maybe they even priced it right.
I think so. We're and it's this one's never been a rental, so it hasn't been beat up. It's going to be in pretty decent shape.
Do you know the listing agent?
What's that?
Do you know that Regina, the listing agent?
Oh yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Just curious.
No, there's about 10 of us in Blue Ridge. I'd say, how it is. 10% of us control about 90% of the market, and she's in that. I tell her, most of these listings you can fit all of us in an elevator, so we all know each other. And I asked her, I was like, "Hey, what's the rental deal?" She, "Oh, no, just homeowners. They need to sell." So, but
They live in it? No.
what's what's that?
They live in it? No.
No, no, just second home. Vacation home for somebody. Probably the grandkids of, everybody's older and moved away, and they don't use it as much as they used to. So, grandma and grandpa need to sell or want to sell, so they can, do whatever they want to. Now, another one. This one, and full disclosure, this is one of my listings. Been on the market. We've had this one on for a while, but this is the type of deal that, I was telling you, if you're willing to buy something that's a little more adventurous, you can get a lot more cabin for less money, and especially get the view. This one, matter of fact, just this past spring, or actually summer, they just had the exterior of this one restained, so the pictures aren't going to, show it. But if you want that, if you want that mountain view, from your cabin, this is another great option. This one's about a 20-minute drive from Blue Ridge, but a super cute cabin, needs a little polish, need a little upgrade. Doesn't have what I would call pop right now, but Luke, you know how to fix that. Again,
The
have a
price
bunch of
seems
Amazon
right
boxes.
on this, though. I'm curious at why doesn't this sell at first? And have you had any offers?
We have. So the reason, in my opinion, is it's an easy gravel drive there. You've got about 10 minutes of a gravel drive to get to it, never gets steep. But as more and more stuff gets paved, a lot of people are just like, I don't want to go down a dirt road, a mountain road. And
Really?
yeah,
That's interesting. I wouldn't care about that at all.
I don't think most people do. I really don't. But, when there's enough properties on the market, you just end up gravitating to the one that may be easier to get. But we've got this one priced right, and it is a 3-bedroom. It's a 3-2 instead of a 3-3, but it's still an honest mount cabin and has been restained. A lot of wood's been replaced around it. So the homeowners are the type of people that take care of it. So this is just one I wanted to show you of what does work.
Is it a little too far out? Maybe is that? I mean, in other words, is that why it hasn't sold?
I wouldn't say it's too far out. I just think people don't love the drive,
I see.
and it's never steep. It never gets that steep. It's just, but again, at 504, this one to me is right.
I like it a lot. I mean, I don't know the prices in your market that well, but this is definitely one
Yeah.
the actual property itself is something that would be in my wheelhouse.
I agree. So enough about, what's on the market. I want to show you kind of some other listings that may not be, new construction. Again, some great clients of ours, Luke, and I know you've talked to this family as well. Sold this one last year, and they're getting after it right now. 533 reviews, nothing but 5.0. These are the type of people you want to rent a cabin from. And again, an older style cabin. It's not the modern, super modern build, but good little carport, or I shouldn't say carport, good little parking area. Not the biggest, but enough to get a few cars in there. Honest little kitchen. Fresh living room. Everything here looks clean. Not big. A lot of these cabins, you know how they are, Luke. They're not, you're not going to have a 10-person table at these cabins. But a fun little place, nice little master, and look through the master, you got your mountain view out there. So I'm not going to bore you with all the pictures. Now, look, this one again, I want you to see this. It's got a mountain view, but it's kind of, how they cut them. It's been cut through. So it's not a wide open, 180-degree mountain view, but this is fine. And when the leaves fall, it's going to be even bigger view. But again, when it comes to mountain view, as long as you see the mountains, a lot of people are going to be happy. And that's going to make you
Can I trim those trees, or is that against the rules in Georgia?
Oh, you can. You
Yeah.
absolutely can. As long as they're on your, like anywhere else, as long as they're on your property, vista pruning goes a long way. I tell everybody, if you've got one that needs a little vista pruning, you're going to spend between $3,500 and $5,000 to kind of open it up, just to do basic. We're not going to, you're not going to top trees here. That'll get you in trouble. But trimming them up and thinning them out, basically, Now, if you got to remove a big tree, that's a little different discussion. But you know what? For most people, this is fine. This works. You don't have to have that wide open. Because look, if that view was wide open, then you're talking about $1 million view. Pool table room, arcade. I wish it wasn't Pac-Man. I wish it was something NBA Jam. But it has everything you need. Just a honest again. I love what they did. They made the outside look fun and kind of busy. And you come down here to the fire pit, you can go into the screened in porch, you could hang out on this level. If you're up here on the master, you got this area. So and all within 15 minutes of downtown. So again, I call this kind of your normal do-gooder. It's what people are looking for. Here's another property. This one is actually for sale. We just took it off the market. They're gonna stay there themselves, but it's gonna go back on the market. This is this was a custom home, and it does fairly well. It's already making around 80 grand a year. They've got it. I think they're gonna take somewhere around 640 for it. Okay. But this is a 3-2, and I want to step into it so you can see it's a little different. It's got a really, really big living room, good sized living room area. What's unique is it's got a bedroom. Number one is kind of a normal bedroom, but then there's another bedroom off of this big bunk room. So there's this huge bunk room, and off of it is another room with a king bed in there. But people come here because they love this. They love the furniture, and it's an honest little house that's comfortably going to sleep 8 people, and nobody's got to be on a couch. All right.
Very nice flooring. I love the floors.
Oh yeah. And it doesn't have a big view.
This
isn't one of those with a big view, but it's got, it's got plenty of parking around the house.
He needs a photographer for sure.
Some of the pictures are a little, need to be a little smoothed out. I agree with you.
I mean,
there's some good pictures. It's got its own little washroom. But man, I love this place. And again, they're looking to sell. They want to buy a bigger cabin. So, if something like this is what you're into, then, I think they take 640 for this one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got that classic kind of modern style that everybody wants with the prow front. You got your hot tub over here. I don't sell many cabins that are ready to go. This one's ready to go. I just tell people, hey, when you buy it, put your own touch on it, put your own spin on it. So great place though. I mean, who wouldn't want to be there?
But in general, is it common to see something that's been sitting on the market for like a year?
Yes and no. Sometimes how it is, Luke. It depends on what's on the market.
Yeah.
It 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I would say, 4 years ago, no. Now it can be. They can be out there for whatever reason because there's enough inventory out there. We're one of those areas where it's very shoppable. You're not like, oh crap, here's that one house in that one area that everybody needs to be in. Here, there's enough out there to where buyers are picky, so it is what it is. And sometimes
if I'm a buyer, can I come in swinging? Like, can I go way under asking and see what happens? Or am I just making people mad?
I mean, Luke, if I knew the answer to that, my feet would be in the sand.
If I'm your buyer and I come to you and I say, hey, I kind of like this one, but I'm looking for a smoking deal. Can I, offer something ridiculous?
I would tell my client, let's put it in writing and let's send it to them. What's the worst they're going to tell us? No.
Yeah. Well, especially if there's 3 or 4 options.
Right.
You just pick the one you like the most, and then next thing you know, the one you got the better deal on is the one you like the most in some cases,
That's right.
That's where I'm at right now. I'm shopping right now on the beach. Downside being down here where I'm at, where I'm shopping right now, there's not a lot of stuff that needs work and is better priced because people aren't really looking to do the work down here. There's a lot a lot of 10 years or less properties.
So, where we have a soft spot in the market right now. And
Sorry, wrong button.
no, where we have a soft spot in the market here is, and I'll be honest with you, it's hard to move it. Is those houses, 15 to 25 years old, good cabins, 25 to 15 years old, without a big view, they just kind of sit. Everybody right now is chasing a view, and I don't blame them. I mean, that's why I tell people, when people come to the mountains, they want to see the mountains, right? I mean, you can't blame somebody for that. Let me show you one more and kind of step down even lower in price point, that may be, just as attainable for some people. So this little cabin here, this is actually in Ellijay. Okay. Ellijay is kind of the sister market to Blue Ridge. I tell people there it cost 20% less and makes about 20% less. Not quite as desirable, but still can be a great area to buy in. You just have to kind of put up with some HOAs. Now, this one isn't a big HOA. It's in Walnut Mountain, but they've kind of changed their gate situation. And so it's a lot more accessible to get in and out of there. So right now, there's really not any massive rental encumbrances in this community. So this is an older cabin. Okay. And it's, I wouldn't say, with an old, kind of old school design. Yep. It's got some carpet on it, but man, just a fun place to be, an honest cabin at a much lower price point. It's got these little tiny bedrooms, but that's fine. You put 2 kids in here, the Queen of England's not coming here, but that's not what it's, that's not who this cabin's for.
I love that.
This is, yes, absolutely. This is like, retail, stack it high, sell it cheap, man. This is a good, honest cabin, smaller little bedroom here. But you gotta, and then you've got a nice little outdoor.
This looks like something I would rent.
Yeah. And I think most people with kids would love to come to this because you feel like you're at an old school cabin. And it does have a regular bedroom. Here you've kind of got the master, but the secondary and tertiary bedroom is, they're perfect for what this cabin is. And again, cool little spot. Park your car there. You kind of got yourself a little bit of a mountain view. In a nice community. Here we are. 3-1 for a single family. This is like the perfect setup. And yeah, there's one bathroom, but man, if you're looking to get in the game at $400,000, like this is where you go. This is the type of thing you need to be looking for. And I'm with you, man. When I'm looking for something for my kids, we're rugged folks, man. I don't have to have, an $8,000 mattress. For my
buyers that are looking for the greatest deal of the century, let's break this one down a little bit. So 22 days on market. Is that the first go around?
Yeah. We just put it up 3 weeks ago.
Okay. So we don't have a lot of data on this one because it's just recently up for sale.
That's right.
Have you had much activity?
Yeah. I mean, people are calling, hey, does it come with everything? Hey, where is it? Where is it? And yeah. And we've had some showings, but everybody's just picky, I've got zero negative feedback on it. So.
Okay. That's good info. For folks that are listening to this in June or whatever, and want to get a taste of what the market was like in the wintertime, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's right. But, how do I cut myself off share here, Luke? Help me out.
Oh yeah, I got you. Well, we better wrap it anyway. Yeah. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
What would you say is the biggest differences between now and the peak COVID times, just in general?
In terms of buying?
In terms of anything in the world in general. But yes.
So I think people they're a lot more analytical. I keep saying the word picky, and that's from the renting and from the buying standpoint. Like you said earlier, the money's not falling out of the sky like it once was. So people have to be a little more measured with what they do. Once again, there's still plenty of people here. You go downtown, nothing's really slowed down. Cleaning crews are busy. Everybody, it's business as usual. I will say it's more competitive as more people enter the market. We're still small, but like like anywhere else, man, you can't run the Motel 6 and expect Four Seasons money, and you don't have to own the Motel 6. Like that older cabin I just showed you, that 3-1, that one's not designed to be the Motel 6. My God, it's not designed to be the Four Seasons. But you know what? Love it like it's the Four Seasons. Decorate it like it's the Four Seasons, and you will reap the rewards of that. And if you're willing to kind of, I tell everybody, you put 2% more effort into it, you'll make 20% more money. But people just don't want to put that extra 2%.
Yeah, I will say I've noticed that too. It seems like now that the COVID days are over, you got a bunch of these hosts out there that are just like expecting things to be easy, and they're getting frustrated and they're giving up. And I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
My competition is just disappearing by the day. Because then they end up putting it with a property manager, and then as we know that they can't compete with a guy like me, which is not it's not a slight. It's not a. I'm not talking crap about property managers. They just are what they are. I have several property managers on several properties in different markets. Not on my short terms, of course, but not everybody wants to do this. I get that, but it seems to me like the competition is getting slowly a little easier.
I think the cream will really start rising to the top even more so. You hear it every year. Oh, my earnings are down. My earnings are down. I think there's about to be that upper 20%. If you're in the 80 percentile of earners, I think that stratosphere of people who do it right, like the people I showed you, they're going to start making more and more and more money as kind of the dust settles.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But like I tell everybody, you don't have to have $1 million house. This, you don't, but treat it like it's $1 million house and pretend like your clients are coming to $1 million house, and you'll be successful at this.
Yeah. It's like I've heard Avery say it 1,000 times. Everybody in their Chihuahua bought a house in 2022, and a lot of them had no business owning a rental house. And now, I mean, she's always been right about everything, and we are really seeing that now, where these people are starting to complain on Facebook, and you know what that means? They're either going to put it with a property manager or sell it, and that's presenting opportunity for new buyers and also for people that are hungry. If you're hungry, it's like any business. There's room for folks that are hungry. So, how do we find you?
Well, you nailed it. Yep. And I think, the worm is turning. I think people are going to, once kind of this wave of people who bought it and, paid too much for it. And, once they kind of sell and the, stronger host, that's what I tell everybody. The Smokies is covered up with a lot of people who know what they're doing. We don't have a lot of that in Blue Ridge. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of good property managers, and there's not many of them anywhere. But we don't. The management companies here, I think they do an average job. But you see something that's been under property management for the past 2 years. I tell people, if you're going to self-manage, number one, you're going to get better photography because they're just paying the cheapest guy that they can find to do the photos. And guess what? Since it's the same guy doing all the photos, every cabin looks the same, whether it is or isn't. They just happen to look the same because he puts his same filters on it. He shoots everything from the same. It's even, you get lost in the shuffle. And at the end of the day, I think most of my clients, they end up making 20, 30% more than what its rental history was the year before when it was with a property manager.
Mm. And we're passionate about this stuff. That's no secret. You can find us anytime at theshorttermshop.com. How do we track you down?
Yeah, Yach, Y-O-K, at theshorttermshop.com is the best way to get me. Yeah, you can shoot me a text anytime, 662-312-5528.
There it is. Nice. All right. I'm Luke at the shorttermshop.com, and we'll see you on the next one.